Nothing sucks like a big orange. Everybody's heard that saying. Let's talk to Tom Vanderford and see exactly how he feels.
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, I'm Steven Willis, and this is the Locked On Ole Miss podcast, and I'm excited. The big win on Wednesday night over the Tennessee Vols. Just full disclosure, the Florida game has not happened yet by the time we've recorded. We recorded before then, but the Tennessee game is still fresh on everybody's mind and has changed the direction of where Ole Miss fans think the NCAA tournament can go for them. Tom Vanderford joins us this week like he always does. After Ole Miss beat Tennessee, I think Ole Miss fans have to look differently at the NCAA tournament and what this basketball team can do.
Exactly. Like you said in the intro, nothing sucks like a big orange.
Mm-hmm.
But we have two AP top 5 wins this year in basketball. Yeah, we got the first one ever, and then we got the second one ever. You know, Chris Beard, is awesome. So I was glad to see that last night. Glad to see them storming the court and him standing back, just soaking it all in. I sure hope he stays.
Yeah, I think Ole Miss is in good shape there, honestly, if you just want to think about it. And Jaemyn Brakefield had a game of games. I mean, honestly, if you want to look at it for real, other than the Gerald Glass game, Gerald Glass is in a class by himself when it comes to that named game. I don't know if I remember an Ole Miss player having a game, and especially a half, that dominant.
Me neither. That was wonderful. I mean, he just took the whole team on his shoulders. And because of that, I think we end up a 5-6 seed. We'll see, but that's my prediction.
Yeah, I hope Ole Miss avoids the 5 and the 4. And obviously the 8-9 game's the most toxic game on the schedule because of the way it's set up. I think the Goldilock zone for Ole Miss would be a 6 seed. I think Ole Miss should hope for a 6 seed in this tournament.
Good deal.
Yeah, because you want to avoid number 1 seeds. That's my whole thought process. Avoid them for as long as possible. And if you're on the side of the bracket with the 2 seed, you can avoid them to the Sweet 16.
Right, exactly. So I think we've got a good coaching staff. I think our team's good. The whole thing is can they consistently win, and I think so.
Yeah, and the SEC tournament is coming up this week, and honestly, it's weird going into the SEC tournament and not have really any stakes at all in the game. And because the way it's set up, I guess by the time this airs, everybody will know what it is. But like I said, we're recording before the Florida game, but Ole Miss is pretty close to locked into a 7 seed at the moment, which means they're going to be locked in for the second game. If they win their first one against whoever they play, Florida is going to be waiting for them in the next game.
Yeah, that's not an easy draw, but to be honest with you, I think win one and then lose and get out of it be fine for me.
Yeah, and get ready for the tournament.
Alabama lost in the first round of the SEC tournament, and I think they made it to the Final Four, didn't they?
Yeah, that happens all the time. And if you want to think about college baseball or something like that, South Carolina made a living doing that. I think it was Ray Tanner, just go to Hoover, get beat in the first game, go home, and then go try and win a national championship.
Exactly.
So it should be pretty interesting. I think that the men's team is going to be all matchup based for tournaments. There are certain teams that I don't think you want to see. I don't think Ole Miss wants to see McNe State, for instance. I think McNe State, that would be a problem game for Ole Miss as a favorite. But I think matchup base is going to be entirely about the way the NCAA tournament is.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Thanks again for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. When we come back, I will talk to Tom about the Lady Rebels potentially hosting against whoever they play in the NCAA tournament. But first, I do want to let you know about FanDuel. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on that action than with FanDuel. It is America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game. So even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine those live bets into a same game parlay. I love using FanDuel's live betting feature because it keeps every moment of the game exciting. Whether I'm backing my team for a late game rally or picking a player to hit a clutch three, I never feel like I've missed my chance. So the app is really easy to use. So when you win, you get paid instantly. Right now, new FanDuel customers can bet $150 in bonus bets. And if your first $5 bet wins, just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Let's go back to Tom Vanderford, and the Lady Rebs are potentially in the discussion of hosting in the NCAA tournament. They are really close to having that fourth seed locked up, and it's going to be interesting because, Tom, right now is kind of the most boring week of the year in Ole Miss sports. Now, there's stuff going on, but Ole Miss men's basketball has clinched the tournament. Women's basketball has clinched the tournament. Baseball is in non-conference, and spring football hasn't started yet. So I was joking with Michael Katz when I had him on the program yesterday that he can just take a week off, maybe use some of that vacation time to get us ready to go.
Right. Yeah, it's slow. Of course, we're recording this on Thursday, and right now I'm watching us and State play, and it's 27-27 in the ladies SEC tournament right now. So I kind of hopes we win, so we'll see.
Yeah, the ladies need to win. If they want that 4 seed, I mean, we should know, honestly, by – I guess today would be the ladies selection show or something like that, maybe.
Yeah, because
so we'll see exactly how that goes. But Ole Miss hosting a game, the Pavilion hosting an NCAA tournament game would be a really big deal.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, and I'm rooting for Coach Yo and the ladies to get just that because their constant ascent over the last 3 or 4 years as far as relevance in women's basketball, it's been excellent to see, and makes me feel really good. I have Brantley Sanderson obviously on from time to time. He drops me notes about the Lady Rebels all the time with everything going on because he honestly knows a lot more about that stuff than I ever could.
Yeah, and she's done it the right way. She's ramped it up slowly. She's done it the right way, and I'm kind of glad that she didn't go to Georgia a couple of years ago. I'm glad we kept her and glad we were able to work it out.
She's probably glad she didn't go to Georgia a couple of years ago either.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but it's really an interesting thing. I like I said, the men's team potentially, by the way, it could be fun the way it all sets up around a 32 matchup. It could be an Ole Miss Kansas type matchup, which would honestly be a favorable matchup for the Rebels. But the Ole Miss Kansas was the first ever NCAA tournament game that Ole Miss played. Tim Thomas played in that game after Sean Toohey and those guys won the SEC tournament. Their opponent was Kansas in Wichita. I think that it would be funny that if Ole Miss played Kansas in Wichita again.
That would be neat.
Mm-hmm. So a game in Wichita State. Now the 4s are going to be completely messed up. Listen, I'll ask you about this. I think it is a horrible disservice to the college basketball fan that all of the NCAA tournament floors look alike. It looks all homogenous. And it was back like when Tyus Edney went coast to coast for UCLA and beat Arkansas back in like 92. I know that game happened at Boise State because of the floor. It's in my head as part of that memory. That's gone with them doing these new floors that they do now. and instead of having like the old school look of NCAA tournament, which kind of added to the specialness of the tournament.
Yeah, everything's generic now. I wish they'd get away from that.
Yeah, I think it honestly, it's a reward for whoever's hosting. If there was a hosting an NCAA tournament game at the Pavilion, they should be able to see the Mississippi outline and the Ole Miss and all that, so you know exactly where it is.
Exactly.
Just my opinion on that one. Anyway, thank you for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. When we come back, we will turn our attention to spring football and a little bit of baseball as well with Tom Vanderford. But first, I do want to let you know about the Nissan Armada. The Armada Team of the Week is going to be brought to you by our friends at Nissan and the all-new Nissan Armada. Each week, our Locked On college basketball experts are picking one team that stands out. From top-seeded stars to unexpected upsets, these guys have showcased their strength and sheer power needed to push their team forward. This week's Armada and clear-cut team of the week are the Houston Cougars. Since joining the Big 12 a season ago, the Cougars are now gone a combined 33-4 in conference game, winning a regular season title by multiple games each season. There's no team in college basketball that more capably embodies the rugged Armada than Kelvin Sampson's squad. Houston's tenacious defense leads the nation in the fewest points allowed per game for the second straight year. When it comes to the Nissan Armada, they say go forth and conquer, and that's exactly what the Houston Cougars have done in the Big 12 over the last 2 years. It is clear that our team of the week is out here ready to conquer the road ahead with confidence, just like you can in the all-new Nissan Armada or any of the Nissan outstanding vehicles. Take the Nissan Armada, Rogue, or Pathfinder and go find your next big adventure. Shop nissanusa.com. All right, Tom, let's turn our attention real quick before we move into spring football. Ole Miss got a walk-off win against Murray State in the midweek. For the second time, Ole Miss has walked off in the midweek. And lots of teams in college baseball in midweek lose games to teams they shouldn't. That's just the way college baseball has always worked. But Ole Miss seems to be kind of doing the team of destiny type thing, or never say die attitude. And the young guys that Ole Miss has, Hayden Federico.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. Those young players are kind of setting Ole Miss up to not necessarily make a run. I'm not saying that Ole Miss is a candidate to win the Natty this year, but I think Ole Miss can make a regional.
Oh, yes, definitely. And, you know, it's good that we have and I hate bringing this up, but I've heard so many of my friends say it. You can really tell that we've got a pitching coach.
Yeah.
You know, so I've really noticed that we do have good pitching, and let's not forget Murray State was undefeated.
Yeah. They hadn't played anybody, but they were undefeated.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were pretty good, and I'm just glad they got the W. And Ole Miss has Jacksonville State this weekend and all of that, getting ready for next weekend's game against the Arkansas Razorbacks when everything kind of
That's
gets
rubber road right there. We'll see.
And Arkansas 2 weeks ago or last week struggled with Charlotte. They won the games, but they were not the invincible Arkansas that we're kind of used to seeing. So we'll see once SEC play starts. It could be quite interesting.
Yep.
We're about a week and a half away from spring football. I'm starting to do my super explosive videos on the different players. It should be a lot of fun. Spring football is not what it was, intentionally or not. I think coaching staffs are so afraid of putting out a depth chart that it's completely ruined spring because of that spring transfer portal window. Right. If they would get rid of that spring portal window, I think you would see it rubber band back and kind of look more like a traditional spring. But as long as that spring portal window exists, you're going to see them recoil away from spring and start to push for an OTA thing after that spring portal window.
Yeah, I still think that it is a work in progress. I think the spring portal window eventually will go away because, the big college football teams will want it to go away. I'm kind of glad there's one this year though, because our speed back, got hurt, and maybe we can go out and get another one. But we're still in great shape at running back. But I don't know. I want to see how our offense and defense match up, because, to be honest with you, I think we've got an elite offense and elite defense.
Yeah. They have a lot of talent on both sides of the ball. It's going to come down to the development and the relationship between Austin Simmons and the wide receivers. I think that's the most important part of spring. I think you should probably start to identify some players that can help you in the fall. You may not want to give them a depth chart, but you dang sure better make sure that you're paying attention, so that whenever you get to Kentucky in the second game of the season, you don't have a situation like last year's Kentucky, to where I don't think you knew who your best players were.
Yeah, I don't think they did at all. I mean, I don't recall, Ulysses Bentley playing a lot in that game. I may be wrong, but we did have a healthy Henry Parrish, so that was part of it. Everybody knows that, Smith's kid was Parrish, and that's just how it was until he got hurt.
Yeah. So it should be pretty interesting. Anyway, thanks again for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Tom Vanderford joining the show like he does each and every week. Tom, what do you got on in store this weekend?
Well, thank the Lord. Just to let everybody know out there, I had a meeting with a cancer doc today, and I don't have to come back for 6 months. Everything's good. CT scan was good. Blood work was good. Said my blood sugar was a little high, but I'm working on that. But other than that, everything's groovy. So I'm just blessed, and I'm fixing to hang out with the fam and try to relax.
All right, Tom, you enjoy yourself, relax, and do all the stuff that you need to do before this big March Madness run, and we'll talk to you next week, buddy.
Hotty toddy.
Hotty toddy, man.